named Yaka Hika Mikadola. The announcer didn't even try.
And Hika Maka Rakadakalola. Then there's a gap of 3 to Dola Hika Maka Rakadola. And then it's Dika Haka Maka Rakadola. And the trailer is Dola Rola Rola Rakadaka Mola Hola.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it sounds like Keith after a hard night, doesn't it, Max? But I shouldn't say that. How are you?
Oh, very good. Stimulated by a great day's racing at Rose Hill yesterday.
It was a very good day's racing. Greg Hall wasn't there, and neither was Keith Healy. They were in Melbourne. Good to see you, the Big G, along with Keith. How are you?
Oh, we're well, thanks. And, gee, I think Greg's got a big weekend ahead of him, and he rode a very good horse yesterday, too. Bruce past the Cigar.
Yeah, Greg, just briefly, past the Cigar. Second run, he was beaten by Notoire first up. You rode him in the last yesterday, and he won by 5 lengths. Is he a group horse?
A very exciting horse, Bruce. Very exciting, mate. He's by the same sire as the mighty Cigar, as we know that, but he's got a bright future, this horse. He's going to Brisbane, actually, for the Guineas. He's got big plans for him, actually.
Greg will be very dirty, Bruce, because hostilities commenced at Rose Hill yesterday a week earlier than most years, and 2 jockeys have been suspended, Grant Cooksley and Jim Cassidy. Cookie said that he will go to court to retain the ride on Moolward and the Doncaster.
Well, I can tell him which way to go there, Max. I mean, did anyone get fined, mate?
No, not 50,000. They were suspended.
Well,
Yes,
nothing.
Greg, you got $50,000 fine last year for when you won the Golden Slipper, and then took it to court, and it's only really been resolved, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's all over, Bruce. I mean, it's a year ago now, but I mean, nothing sort of come out of it. It was pretty sad how it happened, but we'll just leave it at that. I mean, Max Presnell's a very good judge on racing. He said he did what he had to do.
Greg, is that why they call you the Big G? Because it cost you 50 G?
No, I had that name long before that, Brucey.
I think they call him that, Bruce. He's the Big Grease. I think he's been talking with Clary Connors this morning in case things don't go too well for Cooksley.
Yeah, Moowad. It'd be handy to jump on in the Doncaster. Let's go into the Slipper firstly. Encounter yesterday successful in the Pago Stakes. He's now been elevated to second favourite for the Golden Slipper. Dance Beat pulled a lot. I mean, just what's the form here, guys? I mean, is this a top Slipper trial, or did he beat underachieving horses?
No, this is the same sort of trial as General Nadim. Really, you're racing the clock here. You're not really racing rivals, and what he did with the clock was quite brilliant. He come home better than Moolward, and as you'll note, it's the perfect Slipper trial. There was a chance in the straight. The chain die might have fallen off for looking over his shoulder too much, but that's just a little peculiarity he has. Clary Connors said to Grant Cooksley, he rode Moolward, he said, all I'm going to tell you is don't look over your shoulder as much as Shane Dye.
OK, well, the good thing here, Keith, is that we're getting some fresh challenges late. Encountered, and obviously Mule Ward, who won on Monday in Melbourne. So suddenly it's gone from a 4-horse race to a 6-horse race in the betting.
Yes, 33.78 the last 600 metres under a stranglehold. So that's slick time. The opposition wasn't strong, Bruce. You're right there. You mentioned 5 or 6. That's true, but that's where it ends. That's a special slipper. There are only half a dozen hopes in this one.
It was like a trial for Encounter yesterday. Speaking of trials at Warwick Farm on Friday, we saw 2 of the favourites. Guineas, Darren Beedman had been injured the day before. Against, I think, his manager's advice, he went and rode Guineas in the trial on Friday. How did you assess him, Max? He's in front and he obviously runs away.
Well, again, Bruce, this is a matter of a 2-year-old racing the clock, and I'd like you to note the way that Guineas does accelerate, does go to the line. He's a real speedball, this horse, and a genuine Golden Slipper chance. What he beats is nothing, but he came home in a very, very slick section, and as far as times are concerned, he was far more impressive than Knowledge, but different style of horses.
Greg, you came to Sydney on Friday to ride Knowledge in the track gallop. You made a special trip up. Your times weren't as good. How did you feel Knowledge went? We're going to pick this trial up when you're just in front and on the rail.
Yeah, Bruce, I mean, this, like Max says, they're there for just the day out. My horse was there for the day out. The thing I like about Guineas is he's an absolute professional at his business. That's a big plus for him. This horse is in his trial. I mean, that's not the way to ride this horse, but the others around him, I mean, not in the same class as him, and he was there for the trip.
So in the slipper, you're committed to riding Knowledge from behind, are you, Greg?
No, not necessarily, Keith, but I mean, that's his pattern of racing. You know, ride him quiet and let him get home and hope there's speed on, and he relaxes a lot better. But at the trial, it was mainly the trip to get him there. It's nearly a month in between runs, so he's had a good day out, and I mean, he just jumped and led and done it as he likes. The thing I like about this horse, though, is he looks at everything, which means he's got plenty up his sleeve. Greg, you rode Rose of Danehill in the Blue Diamond, so you're pretty well versed in who's the best of the Freedman horses. Knowledge pipped you that day. The betting suggests they're about equal. I think they're both 11-2. General Name is 9-4. You're best mates with Lloyd Williams, who owns Knowledge with Kerry Packer. There was a hell of a to-do because you didn't ride him in the Blue Diamond. If you didn't have any ties to Lloyd and he wasn't your best mate, would you ride Rose of Danehill? I mean, if friendship didn't... No, I wouldn't. No,
you'd ride Knowledge.
I think Knowledge is a better rider, actually. He's a very, very strong colt, this colt, and...
Well, why didn't you ride him in the Blue Diamond?
Well, that's a long story, Keith, and this show doesn't go long enough, mate.
Oh, well done, Greg. By gee, you boxed clever there.
Hey, Greg, did it really get...
You taught me well.
The rumours were that Lloyd was going to take his horses off Lee Freedman. Did it get that heavy?
I don't know nothing about that, Bruce. All I know is about horse riding, mate. I'm only a jockey, mate.
Greg, you're dodging well. OK, they were Colin Tidy's markets. One tip at the moment here. Forget the barrier draw. Who's your bet top tip?
Just a point on the markets. Cole Tidy took a bet of 5,000 on Millwood yesterday. Millwood has been announced as an unlikely starter. That 5,000 would indicate that there is a chance that Millwood, the Sires Produce winner in Melbourne, will run. Mine, and I can switch after the barrier draw, Encounter.
OK, Encounter. Keith, one tip before the draw?
Go with the G at this stage, Knowledge. OK,
Knowledge. I think Greg will win. I think Freedman will win his 5th in a row. I think Knowledge will win. Millward and Octagonal, are they more famous now than Todman and No Home?
Not
as brothers?
Yet, but they're getting there. I think that, I think they're probably on a par. They're building up. I would say after this carnival, yes.
OK. He's won 3 in a row, Millward, in terms of Group 1. Here's how he won the George Ryder yesterday.
They're tightly bunched on the corner, and Muward with the inside running again took a narrow lead over Monet's Cove. Kingston Bay pushing into the clear, followed by Sprint by Secret Savings struggling, and Anthem's coming right down the extreme outside, and Shame is trying to get between horses. Muward flat to the boards, pinched about a length on Monet's Cove. Secret Savings not done with yet. He's getting another go on. Anthem's can't go on, but the 3-year-old Muward, Ocky's little brother, and Muward wins another Group 1. Muward beats Shame. Third, Secret Savings, who looked like dropping out but got going again.
So what's the latest? Cooksley will go to court. Who would be
well, when I say he'll go to court, he'll appeal, obviously, the AJC committee. Then perhaps he might take it to the racing tribunal. I would say the ploy would be to get a number of stays of execution so he can ride this horse in the Doncaster.
Worth $1 million in a fortnight's time on the Easter Saturday. Who'd be the top rider? I mean, is there anyone else putting their hand up?
I'll throw my hat in the ring.
Greg, let's see your hand, Greg.
I just spoke to Clary Connors, and actually only 20 minutes ago we're in at the studio here, and Clary's words were I would be his first choice, but he'll have to talk to the owner.
Gee, that's good luck, Greg. I mean, Cooksley, good luck for him too. I mean, but boy, there's no fairness in this game. You kick him off as quick as you can, don't you?
He's an exciting horse, isn't he? He's got overdrive in his gear pad there.
Oh, he's terrific.
He cost $450,000 or close to that. He's won $770 already.
Yeah, he's an amazing, Keith. It's remarkable.
He can take up a position.
Yeah.
I think this is the advantage that he has. He travelled beautifully there. They're going to try and ride him from behind. There was no pace up front. He canted in front, and that makes him very, very hard to beat. He produced a very fine last section, which means that you just can't give him a start and beat him.
Let's have a look at the Rosehill Guineas. Now, the interference on the home turn was where Cassidy and Cooksley have copped the suspensions. I'm right in saying that, all right?
Yeah, it was a rough race throughout. A horse broke down, but definitely a rough and tumble affair.
Watch Darren Beedman as we pick it up. He actually looks around at Kevin Moses. He's back in the field. We might roll now, and I'll just point out where Beedman is on Tarnpur Lane. White face. Now you watch. Here's the interference. They all get into it. Now watch Beedman looks back just to see the interference, and watch this finishing burst now by Tarnpur Lane.
Intergaze has raced to the lead at the 200 mark over Star Covert. Ebony Grove is whacking away, and then Tarnpur Lane from a long way back, but Intergaze well clear with 100 to go. The Victorian Tarnpur Lane is charging home. Intergaze is feeling the pinch. Tarnpur Lane on the outside lunged and got him. Tarnpur Lane has come from last and got up on the line to beat Intergaze with Ebony Grove third.
Great run, weak guineas. Very weak Rosehill Guineas.
I don't know, very weak. I'm not going to say it's
Octagonal
an
Dane win naturalism.
No. Well, you're talking
Surface
about
Paradise. That's been in the last 6 years.
You're talking about outstanding horses there, and I'm not saying...
Weak guineas, Max.
Well, why argue on a split upon weak guineas then, Bruce? But I do wonder whether Craig calmed. He went a bit quick on Intergaze. It was one of those split-second decisions. There's a lot of trouble around. He tried to steal a break. I don't know whether that worked for Intergaze. Greg, what would you think on the subject?
Well, I mean, it's a tricky situation he was in, Max, because when he was coming round wide like that, he could sense the horses on the inside coming out, and then he was holding his ground. He got in trouble over it, and it was just a sort of a panic situation where he possibly thought he'd had to go to try and close the gap, thinking the ones on the inside were going to get through. But you know, I tend to agree with Bruce a little bit. I don't think it was that strong a race. No.
It was the 11th Group 1 win this season for Darren Beedman. Again, 10 out of him, 10 for him. You'd have to give Craig a lesser score. And the first win in the Guineas for Narbathong, Max, which is a little farm hamlet, 50 k's outside Melbourne near Healesville, a population of 500.
Keith, thank you for that. Max has made a big note of that. Guys, thank you very much. Good luck, Greg, next week, and Keith will catch you next Sunday. And on leaving, we're going to leave with the race of the year, maybe, certainly the race of this week. Patrick Smith wrote a beautiful article, I felt, after Octagonal, front page of The Age, said this: punters always talk through their pockets. It's a grubby language, cynically spoken. Yesterday, they lined the mounting yard 5 and 6 deep. They clapped and they cheered, not for a token minute, until their hands hurt and their throats were hoarse, and this is why. Octagonal.
And here comes the Big O down the centre of the track with a great run. It's Juggler and Octagonal racing up at the 300-metre mark to grab Istedad. Juggler's put his head in front. Octagonal, Istedad, followed by Gold City. It's Juggler a neck in front. Octagonal trying to lift. Gold City back on the fence. Octagonal, Juggler and Gold City down to the line. Octagonal, he's got there. I'd say Octagonal drove. I reckon he's nosed out Gold City and Juggler. And Istedad, I think the Big O's...